Good evening and welcome to Mindful Life 265 over there on YouTube. You're joining late, but at least we're here nonetheless, well into the discussion here on the Thursday Talks. Thank you all for joining in. I'm your host, Nathan Springer. Trinidad crime problem has no one single solution. I don't think anywhere crime has a one single solution unless you're talking on a religious plane there. Could we pull off the same thing that El Salvador did to lower their crime? Yes, we can, but there are several problems and issues involved in that. In order to do that, first off, we need a leader that could become as popular with the population as Mr. Bukele became. I don't know where we get a leader with that kind of popularity. That's one. Because in order for us to pull off an El Salvador, the leader needs to be trusted more than the judiciary. Because the leader needs to be able to put the country into a state of emergency and take over the place of the judiciary, and we need to trust them with doing that, because that's basically what they did in El Salvador, and I kind of understand it, and it kind of makes sense to me. It kind of makes sense. Neil Mohammed says, you want to Americanize? Well, you must have these side effects. Crime is their biggest problem. 2, you need an educated police force. The world is moving less and less from capitalism and more extreme socialism. I agree. Did you hear Auntie Cam's new message? Load up the matic, she said. That's not what the Tanti said. USA have police, FBI, and CIA, and so what? Actually, it was noted Mr. Manning was a big fan of Singapore model. Yeah. What's that with the USA and the FBI, CIA, and police? The FBI the main thing with the FBI is because they have states. We don't have states, so we don't need a federal bureau to investigate. Our regular police have the power to investigate across all of the counties of Trinidad, so we don't need an FBI. The CIA isn't even supposed to function within the United States, so that's supposed to be irrelevant on the crime fighting scale. The only group that is supposed to be, generally speaking, fighting crime on the regular is, just as with anyone else, the police. Let's pay our police according to their education. I don't mind that. Police are just gangs given authority. To some extent, yes. To some extent, police, in a sense, the police are the biggest gang. Whoever is the biggest gang that could control the country would be the police. That would be the self-appointed police to some extent. Now, the hope is that in countries run by a constitution, run by a legal framework, that the biggest, strongest gang in the country would be a gang devoted to following the laws of the country. That's the hope. Oh, you didn't hear the new one. She did say she listens to Trinidad, so load up the matic. Wow, I did not hear that, Cheeky. I did not hear that one. I did not hear that. We need a parallel agency. You know, Richard, I don't disagree. The problem in Trinidad and Tobago is I don't fully understand how we are going to create that parallel industry, that parallel agency. Like, the United States is large enough where just by sheer size you could get some independence from different areas that haven't really crossed paths. But the model we use, coming from the British system, I don't think it's well suited necessarily to how Trinidad and Tobago is set up. We don't have enough independent institutions. We don't have institutions that could trace themselves back to the 15th century, where Lord XYZ founded this, and you know, they have some pride in themselves for some other reason like that. Almost all of our institutions, the independent institutions, are just institutions spun off by the government nonetheless. So the independent institutions are basically government institutions at the end of the day. So who would create this parallel agency? How would we create a parallel agency that isn't either a private police for politicians or just another police service? But we already have parallel agencies. What's the name of our intelligence agency? SIS or something similar. That's not really a parallel agency. They work along with the police for the most part. I don't think they have any enforcement officers in their ranks. I think nearly any one of those agencies, if they have to do any kind of enforcement, they're required to bring a police in, or they would have police as high-ranking members in the agency in the first place. America history tells you they will never adopt an economically socialist style. Well, they'll try not to. TikTok says I'll never support colonial imperialists bent on destroying all people of color. So, how could you promote Islam? When Islam came about, Islam came to Africa as a colonial imperial religion. So how could you promote Islam for black people? And you say you'll never support colonial imperialists. Islam was founded in Arabia and went down to Africa. How do you think it got there? Islam don't translate to Arab, Nathan. I know what it translates to, sir. Relax. You aren't understanding what I'm saying, are you? If Islam was founded in Arabia, not that Islam is Arab, Islam was founded in Arabia. You understand geography. Arabia is to the northeast of Africa. How do you think Africans came to be Muslim? How do you think that happened? Ah, I see. So Islam is not to be associated with Arab imperialism, but Christianity is to be associated with European colonialism. How does that figure? Well, it was that guy I was responding to. It was that guy that I was making the response to. Good night, Roni. Good night, good night, good night. That's the guy I was responding to there. The guy who was making that claim. So that's why I was saying that. I mean, I don't associate the two. I don't say one is the other. I don't say that the imperialism is the religion, but that's a claim that some people attempt to make, and I say, if you're making that claim, how come you make that claim in one direction only? Strange to me. Yeah, Roni, what's going on?
Hi, good night, how you doing?
I'm cool, bro.
Hi, right, so a couple of things. Back to the statement that Kamala made, as well as some of the comments that people are making on the different platforms, right? You cannot have people suffering, and you cannot have an issue as the biggest hindrance to the quality of life of a people, and then have, how we put it, modern policies to deal with barbarians. Right? There's something called equal force and equal measure. Even in the police office, even in the police that is executing their duties, the police and them are quite shy because they are people who interrupt an investigation, interrupting police scenes, and all they're crying is racism.
Are you too wicked? Are you too wicked?
And a society based on where we're gonna put the feelings of the needs of the many.
Ruma, sorry, I just had to laugh at that last bit of comment that TikTok ghost guy put in there. All right, sir. Yes, because that, when in history has that ever happened? Right. They converted to a religion and paid tax to the religious center, all on their own volition. Sure. Yeah, Room, go ahead.
And we cannot hide behind the keyboard because a lot of people, I'm quite sure, it has not been affected by crime. And I could understand the stress, the build up, and the animosity behind that statement, because a lot of people agree with Kamala, not because they have the same political mind as her.
Correct.
Because they are feeling the same level of grief, they are feeling the same level of discomfort, they are feeling the same level of not being safe in their own homes. And when a man is not safe in his own home, whether there's sleepless nights for millions and nightmares for demons.
Yes, that's the point I was making. Like, okay, you might call it irresponsible, you might call it reckless, but I don't think it was an unwise political statement. Politically, I understand clearly what she was doing, and it spoke to the current zeitgeist. It spoke to the atmosphere currently in the country, and that is what the UNC is targeting. The UNC isn't treating this like a local government election, and personally, for someone looking at Trinidad and wanting things to run better in Trinidad, I don't like that idea. I would like them to focus on what could actually happen in a local government election. Let's not misdirect the population, but they're doing their political thing. This is how political machinations work, and they're running this like a general election.
Before you continue, there's one statement or one symbol allowed Patrick Manning to lose election. This statement that she made, based on what side of the fence you fall, it could be a very determining factor in who win election. Because either you side with the criminals, which means you're for the criminals, or you're against the criminals. And this statement is what you call a very clear position statement.
Rome, I don't know if you were in that live, was that last night or when I was saying that? That is literally what I said. Because the statement she made is juxtaposed clearly by the PNM. The PNM made a statement in the opposite. Now, this is what I was saying in the political side, where some people may call her statement irresponsible. From the moment you rise in opposition to her statement, what you're saying is that the homeowner shouldn't empty the clip, that some consideration should be put for the ban. The moment you say something like that to someone who has experienced crime, it has touched them, they want nothing to do with you. So, yeah, you might think it's irresponsible if you haven't felt that touch of crime. But for many who have, that's speaking right down their lane. And I think it might actually work to her benefit more than to her harm politically.
And one more thing before she goes. She also speaks the language of the young person who is not interested in politics. Mm-hmm. Because now she used a language that they could associate with and add an emotion to.
Correct. Very correct. And you're seeing it. That's why I say I feel somebody else wrote that, because you're seeing that it's picking up in the popular culture, and they're making the remakes of it and load it up, and the what is the word is yellow, some kind of thing like that. You're seeing the popular culture move. Yeah, Ronnie, what's going on?
What's going on? But just to talk about this thing with saying, and also what you have said, which is talk about local government issues and how you could benefit the local, like your win could benefit local government in your would that be whatever those things are. Corporation.
Yeah, corporation.
Yeah, local government is corporation. Yeah, so talk about them things, because come and talk about stand your ground and whatever, and those things cannot happen. And I said this last night, it cannot happen. So you literally stand and pie in the sky kind of vibe, and that is why I dislike you kind of being dishonest a bit. and when you're campaigning on something that you cannot deliver. Because as it was said by the PNM, they are in parliament, they have the majority and they will pass it. So wait for your general election and bring them kind of topics, because then if you win, then you could try and pass it. Which I don't even know if they could pass it like that.
That's the thing, Ronnie.
And like something.
That's the thing I keep saying. I keep saying this because as much as I am a fan of arming more citizens if possible, I have not heard a feasibility study as it were. Like, how are you going to do this? As I keep saying, stand your ground is not where the choke point is right now. The license is the choke point. How are you going to do it? Like, what is the procedure? What you enter government, what are you going to do? And the thing is, I believe they are purposefully being very vague in that sense, and also they're purposefully. I don't think the opposition doesn't know what the local government election is about. They fully well understand that the local government election isn't about changing gun laws in Trinidad and Tobago. They very well understand that, but they also, I think it's a political move, as I said. They don't think that there's anything to really harp on in the local government election for them to win on, so they go on the thing that they believe could start the upswing straight into the general election. I could tell you, if the opposition gets a positive showing in this local government election, we are going to hear all of this talk non-stop straight into the general.
Well, general is next, 2 years or something, so. And I do not believe that this would be a simple majority thing. I think it may go, well, I don't know, because this is something real serious. This may have to go a vote, like a referendum.
But the thing is, Ronnie, I have no idea what this is. No one has outlined what this is. So Cricks and Cheese says it's a simple majority. What is a simple majority? What are they going to change? Are you talking about the stand your ground legislation? In that case, I kind of don't care about the stand your ground legislation. That isn't my biggest worry, because I'm not even too interested in emptying a clip on the man who enters my home. I just want to know that I could have the thing. Let's cross that bridge. What are you going to do? How are you going to do this? The firearm amendment. What is this firearm amendment? How are you going to do it? What is the wording of this thing? If it's going to be so easy, tell me it. Put it out there already. You see, if you put it out there now, we could get the lawyers out there to say, okay, well, this wouldn't work because XYZ, 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 to try and sell me cat in bag, as we see, to try and sell me a unknown product. And then when I buy it, I might see what, no. Let me know ahead. You were saying, Ronnie, you were saying.
I was reading some of these comments here. But that is basically why I was getting into, like, if it is so much of a push for your campaign and your elections, tell us how it works. And tell us how you're getting to the final point. Lay us the groundwork, give us a vision 2025 or whatever, and tell us exactly how this thing going and happen. So that way I could throw my vote behind you, because I don't want to waste my vote. Next time I'm going to waste my vote and vote for you. And when I'm done, you're going to tell me shipping this book. Oh, the opposition are supporting the bill. So hard luck, so all, you know. Yeah, and we also be pockets in the meantime. Come on, man.
Yeah. Good night, Kinta Moses. Gibran over on Instagram says, why don't politicians engage in more public debate, or any public debate for that matter? Let's hear them argue against each other with more intellect and civility. Because Trinidad doesn't require it. Our politics doesn't need it. It's just a risk for the politicians, and why risk that if they don't need it? Yeah, that's you, Hotep. What's going on, bro?
Yeah, bro. What's going on? This is definitely a general election push. Let's not be let's not be obtuse in this thing. It's definitely a general election push. The woman wants to be elected for government once again, and that's fine, right? But pulling out the heartstrings of the people is why I would never vote for this political party, right? Because as a political party, and you want to be in governance, right? You have to let me know what type of legislation are you going to put within this political landscape in order to get the thing going, right? Is it going to be an amendment to the Constitution? Is it going to be some sort of legislation for easy, smooth transitioning of getting a FUL? You can't just tell me stand your ground and it's about to be easy and we have no blueprint, no framework. It don't work like that, right?
Correct.
So are you just going to go out there and vote for a woman who just loves to tell you sweet nothings and whisper in your ears? That it can't work like that. And yes, it sounds good because that's the right path she needs to be on. But the path needs to have some things leading to the end of the road.
You shared the link, Cricks and Cheese. Well, I would look at it. I would look at it if you could tell me where you shared it. So if you show me where you shared it, I'd look at that. And it would be interesting to see what their plan is, how they plan to execute that. And to me, if they iterate their plan, then the next thing they do is you put the PNM, you put the governing party in the position where now the governing party has to say, no, this is a bad plan. And then, okay, if it's actually a good plan, then you just made the ruling party make a misstep. They would have said something is a bad plan when it's actually a good one. So laying out the plan is a positive thing. Now, I heard someone say that local government election has no point. What is it about box drains, etc., etc., etc.? And I think that's kind of the issue why I don't like what the opposition is doing right now, because they are making the local elections have no point. They are this happened in the United States for a while too. They subsumed everything into the grand national federal elections, while there are other minor elections that if you run them how they are intended to run, you'd actually get better results coming out from your local governance. Local government actually is responsible for most of the things that touches you on a day-to-day. The things that hurt you and annoy you most every day when you wake up in your home, that's local government. But when we are trained in this country that local government is just an extension of national elections, so we vote for the same party that we vote for national elections, we just vote for them for local government. That's not the point. Do you know this councillor? Is this councillor effective? To me, if the local government, if we were able to pull ourselves out of this stupid partisan politics model we have for local government, we could even have independent councillors. To me, that might have been the perfect solution for local government. If we had independent councillors who aren't hinged to any one party or the other. So you can't claim victimization because you aren't an opposition party, and you don't have to toe the party line to say everything that the ruling party says. That might be the perfect thing. But no. We put everything into the national election pile, so now we can't have nice things.
Having independent councillors is a good idea on paper. When it comes to funding, let's be honest, human nature. I'm not going to fund an independent to make my party look bad. Human nature. So I think I am just a very realist when it comes to these things, because we don't have a history of thinking outside of the two-party system. There's some improvement in terms of the different little parties that are popping up, and to some extent they may split the vote in some communities, but at the end of the day, everybody sings for the supper. Like it or not, it's the reality. So people hedge the bet on their best opportunity.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Rasta Shinobi, what going on? I see you on the inside.
I'm listening. But good night to everybody. But let me ask you a question.
Yeah, man.
Do you believe that somebody would vote for a certain party on general election and on local election change the mind and vote another party for a different council. You believe Trinidad has that in their culture when it comes to election?
No, we don't. And
right. Well then,
It does.
Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
that's kind of the point I was making. I was saying that we should, and what for example, what the opposition is doing right now reinforces that culture where we would not do that, because the opposition is making it that any vote right now, if you vote for a PNM councillor, you're voting against gun rights, while really and truly maybe my vote might be UNC in a general, because the UNC might have the better legislative agenda, but the PNM councillor in my region might be a better fit for, because I see him walking the road more, he might be a better fit. But what they do is they make it seem like it's all one and the same, so they reinforce that. But what I'm saying is it shouldn't be that way, but it is. Yes.
You believe it's different on the part of the ruling party right now, that they're not doing the same thing?
Well, they're not doing the same thing right now with the local government elections. I'm speaking about this specific point. I'm not talking in general, like they don't do that in general. They have their own. I spoke previously where I believe the Prime Minister purposefully misconstrued the whole discussion about stand your ground and made it into a pretty larceny discussion and a race talk. That was the Prime Minister that did that, and that's what they do. But I'm speaking about specifically the local government discussion. The ruling government is attempting to make the local government election discussion around local government reform, because they think they have a strong point with that. And to be fair, that makes more sense. That's kind of more what it's about. But right now, who is obscuring the focus of what local government elections should be is the opposition.
I get you, and I agree with you. But what I believe that what we're not seeing is that in politics, they care about results and what is necessary to get results, right? That's how I see it. And
we care about votes.
When
results and votes is
it all boils down to that. It do care about none of that whole local election reform and all that. Local government reform. That's not really important because what is happening is that Kamala is literally trying to rile up her audience and spread it. Meaning, there's a lot of people that is disenfranchised by the PNM right now because of crime, food prices, whatever. There's a list, the road condition, whatever. And adding this, nobody in Greenland care about that councillor anyway, because as you said in the, before, the average voter is not going to vote PNM for a local election, general election, and then come back and vote UNC for the local election. So the whole local government reform and all that is of no, this will sound bad, but it's not really of any merit when it comes to get votes, right? Because really and truly, it's all about, let me get these people who are disenfranchised to come across here and stain the finger. So I would know, okay, what I need to elaborate on when the general election come in. I would know, okay, I try this, I get an extra 50,000 votes. So let me see now to turn this 50,000 now to an extra 150,000 when the general election come. Because campaigning is not going to stop. In this last 2 years here, it is not going to stop. It is
I
not
agree.
going to stop. This is going to go straight into general election.
Blessed night, Willie Bang. I agree, Rasta. What I'm saying here is, if I were to give advice to the politicians, I'd say like what you're saying there. That is how politicians function. They're functioning on votes. What gets out the vote? As I've told, I think I made a video about that a while back. And that's why money speaks in a political campaign. All you have is one vote. You have your one vote. But if I could speak to someone who could pay for a busload of people to come and vote, then this one person and their money actually is worth 25 votes. So the person with the busload of votes is worth more than you with your one vote. That's how it works. They're working on checking votes, and I agree that's the technique they're using, and I'm saying that. But what I am trying who I'm trying to talk to is the population, because by treating the local government election as just an offshoot of the general election, we get worse service because of that. You get councillors who don't care to do their job because the councillor doesn't even know what the job is, because the citizens in the Burgess have no idea what the job is. They don't even know what their councillor is responsible for, so he doesn't even have to worry to be responsible for it. And that's what I'm saying. I am trying to talk from the citizens' point of view. Yes, I understand the politicians are going to politic. They are going to politic. They're going to use whatever methods they could do to try and get votes. But I am trying to say to the citizens, let's try and see things for what they actually are. That is not actually what local government is about. Yes, we understand the reality of Trinidad and Tobago, but still, that is not what local government election is about. When you vote for this councillor, he does not have an effect on the general elections. There's no effect. The only thing on the party side, they use that as a temperature gauge to see, okay, how we're doing in a run up to the general. But in terms of the reality of the functioning of Trinidad and Tobago, that it doesn't have anything to do with the other. It doesn't work like that. And we shouldn't allow it to seem like it functions like that. We should not allow that. We don't get better results because of that.
Agreed.
Yep. Almost like a mock elections. Yeah, that is what they would use it for. And the opposition is pretty much saying that, the opposition is saying this local government election is a referendum on the PNM. So if you don't like the government, vote against them in this local government elections. That's what they're saying. But that is not what this election is for. If you want to start a referendum for people to voice their discontent with the ruling government, go on change.org or start a signature petition or something of the kind. That's not what this election is supposed to be. And we should not endorse a party purposefully ruining our electoral model like that. That doesn't help us. We should want that if a party is going up for the local government election, be honest with us. This is what this is about. This is about trying to pave the roads in your secondary streets. This is about trying to get the drainage covered. This is about maybe trying to get something centralized to work on those snails. You see those snails that are harassing you? Maybe we could get something centralized to work on the snails. The mosquitoes in the region, maybe we could get something to do that. That mechanic who has all the cars parked on the road, maybe we could work something out there. The empty lots with the bush, maybe we could work some. You find the grass doesn't cut regular, maybe we could. The savannah doesn't cut and you want some lights and you want somebody to full the savannah and do some that is the discussion. But no, we cannot have those nice things because we take the mama guy and think this election that is supposed to give us those nice things is a referendum on the general election. No.
Well, yeah, no, you are very correct. And mind you, I didn't call to disagree.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm not arguing with you on that.
One no. Yeah. It's just the reality of how the Trinidad culture is now.
Yep.
That is just how it is.
That's correct. Trinidadians aren't mature enough as a society to vote beyond party and politics and pick on. I'm not sure about that, If we could just extricate ourselves, because I don't think that Trinidadians are so different from people in other places. We just unfortunately bought into the tribalism. Good night, Hallie Joseph. The councillor in my constituency is a complete waste, Willie Beng says. Dinesh says, where do you think PEP stand in this local election? I will say this. I rate it that the PEP didn't see it necessary to go and join into a collaborative something. I keep saying this. If the COP, the Congress of the People, either never joined the partnership or left the partnership early enough to retain their integrity, they would have been a very viable party by now. They killed themselves by remaining in the partnership. the PEP running this election alone is doing benefits for themselves, I think. That's what I'd say on that. Yeah, Ronnie, what's going on?
Well, that's exactly how I feel. And that was the downfall of the COP. That was an actual party. It was an actual choice that people had. And then they joined with the UNC and they got themselves at the Mudacado. Like they literally kill off themselves because they had people that supported them. They had actual seats.
They had a lot of people who supported them.
And now they don't even exist to this day. Like, I don't even know if they even have a party anymore.
I think the party is still there in name, but barely in anything else. And that's kind of a problem we face in Trinidad and Tobago. A lot of the third parties, and that gives the feeling like Trinidad is PNM versus the world. A lot of those third parties create that kind of feeling because all of the third parties seem like eventually they end up in alliance with the UNC against the PNM. So you give the people the feeling like any other option than PNM is UNC. Like, just stand on your own. Give us 3 elections on your own. Give us a couple. For goodness sakes, man.
Nathan, you need to understand that the reason why a lot of third parties cannot stand on their own and they refuse to stand on their own because there's something called finance and resources.
True.
And if they have never been in government, they have not set up any financiers or any real way to make themselves a legitimate party. And so hence the reason why they're always burning up and they always, because even almost 60% of the new parties is by 2025 they're going to end up in a coalition because they have a shot of the treasury. That's how I see it.
But Rome, what exactly does it take for them to? Well, I mean, obviously, apart from paying to run in the elections, what would it take for them to stay active during the 15 years of
renting headquarters, renting buildings, renting convention centers to keep meetings? There are costs. There are costs. The thing is, though, the thing is, that's what I was going to say, Ronnie. The thing is, there could be a grassroots party. It has been done before in history. Parties have been created from the grassroots. The problem is, to do it from the grassroots, you have to actually do it from the grassroots. That requires work. That requires standing out there in the mud. That requires people laughing at you. It isn't as glorious as just entering politics and getting a suit and getting interviews and in the AC convention centers. It's a difficult thing to actually do it grassroots, and not many people have that in them.
I would say though, the Philip Alexander, that PEP is my party, right? I believe had he started that a little earlier, he would have been able to get a little more ground in Trinidad though. I believe he would have got a little more ground had he started earlier, but it is too late heading into like 2 years away from a general election. I believe it is too late for him now.
I'll tell you, I'll be plain. And I urge people online, listen, be plain, but don't get yourself put in nonsense. I see some bloggers having to pay people money and things these days. It's easy to not put yourself in place, you know. Just not put yourself in place. But anyway, I'll be plain with that. To me, a problem I have there with some new parties is when the names are very familiar. For someone like me who reads about politics regularly and the names sound familiar for me, like there are some people who enter the UNC today, and they were in the PNM yesterday. And while they were in the PNM yesterday, they were saying that the UNC is run by the devil incarnate and it's just a whole evil enterprise. And I'm like, wait, something doesn't make sense there. If the UNC was evil when you were in the PNM yesterday, how come you are working for the devil today? And that's the problem I have with some of these known names, where I knew that you were very comfortable sitting among these people. And now you are telling me that these people are evil people and they always were evil thieves. But you were okay sitting amongst them, and the only reason you left is because they put you out. And you attempted to get back in. I'm sorry, some of those things, I don't see it as a virtue when you weren't allowed into the elite halls and now you're trying to be a rebel. No, you're not really a rebel. You're an elite that was kicked out and you're trying to get back in.
Exactly. Yeah.
To speak plainly about how I see some of the third parties. That's why some of the third parties, I watch them.
But Nathan, name a third party that was not a part of a major political
I'm not
party.
calling any names. I remember the Keith Noel, what was it? Keith Noel won whatever the number was by a certain businessman. One of his employees was murdered way back in 2000 and something. One of his employees was murdered, and he started an anti-crime group, and he was just talking about, the violence in society, and he always maintained he had no ambitions for politics, nothing political here. It's just, his concern for society, his concern. Bam, the partnership bell rang, and all of a sudden he was inside with his whole Keith Noel so-and-so committee, carrying his deceased employee's name into a political party. Then when the partnership went through, he stayed with them the entire time the partnership left governance. He disappeared from the public eye. All of a sudden, all of his activism dried up. Some of these things just don't add up to me.
I think that's just the Trinidad and Tobago context, because if you watch America is a two-party system through and through. But what you tend to see with any major sort of other parties within America, they stand on their own. They stand on their merit. So the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, they stand on their own, right? And a great room to a little bit, because these parties are already fleshed out their campaign, their finances, you know what I'm saying? So when it comes to Trinidad and Tobago, it comes like a pickup game. Like third parties in Trinidad and Tobago come like a pickup meet. Like you just pick 3 men from the block and we say, come now, let we do this thing now, and now we get. I know how it does work. And the thing is, me being me, I want a multi-party system where parties have a legitimate claim to winning an election. Why must it be that every time I wake up, Kamala might win tomorrow, Rowley might win next week? Because that's how we live it, less of two evils. I fed up a lesser two evils thing, but I have to be truthful about the other parties within this country. They're not ready. They are immature. You understand what I'm saying? They're not ready.
To me, what you're saying there, Trinidad, I fully agree. If they could keep themselves alive long enough to get a platform. So if it be that the COP has 1 seat, but that 1 seat is reliable, the COP has their 1 seat. At least now they have they're a bargaining power in the country. So in order to do some things in the country, you need to go, and the COP has some bargaining power. If we could have different pressure groups that all have their different levels of power, even if it's on the racial ground, and you had an Afro pressure group, you have the Indo pressure group, then you have the mixed pressure group, you have the Asian pressure, and they all must find a way to compromise together. That still makes more sense than the two-party systems. But in order for that to happen, some of these third parties need to actually remain as third parties for some amount of time. You're talking about the US, the Trini Hotel, and they have multiple parties, but the general rule is two party. And what generally has to happen is those two parties now must create coalitions with those other parties. And the coalitions aren't just that I swallow you. No, I have to make concessions. So, okay, the Democrats want to get some of the Green Party members to vote for them. We'll make concessions on this part of your platform and that part of your platform and that part of your platform, and maybe you would then endorse me. So Bernie Sanders was basically the head of the left-wing Democratic Socialist arm inside the Democratic Socialist Party inside of the US. All right, if we make some concessions as the Democrats and say, well, we would lean some things to this socialized thing, we're going to try to forgive the student loan and etc. etc. All right, well, now we could get Bernie Sanders to endorse the Democrat candidate, and that's how you do your coalition, and you still have those Democratic Socialists there as kind of an independent party inside it. But you need to at least establish a platform like that. Does he have any experience in politics before? Just asking. Yeah. Any further questions or comments, people?
It's great. That's
Mama, I don't understand.
hearing this man, bro. That's crazy.
But, I hope
And like with the person there, I'll tell you all pretty plainly. And I understand it's part of his technique. It might be part of his appeal for some people, but that's not appealing to me. I find some of it all too abrasive, all too aggressive. It's off-putting to me. Maybe some people it appeals to, but like the need for the insulting kind of vitriolic language and vitriolic feel, that's not what I think is best. That's not what I think is best. And go ahead.
Yeah, it mightn't be what you find it best, but I have met quite a few people who seems to like his style now.
I don't doubt that.
It seems like what we was talking about with Kamala, where we saying she riling up a certain audience. So it's just that he riling a certain audience. So it's like a test not to see how much you would get out of what it is you're doing. Then you would make it work to suit properly as time goes on. Because the Keith Rowley we know now is not the same Keith Rowley that we know before he came to be Prime Minister. When he was Prime Minister, he was so calm, kissing babies and all kind of thing all over the place. That was not Keith Rowley of
and
Wild Man.
Willie Bang, you probably haven't seen enough of my content. I have made quite a few videos speaking about how our Prime Minister talks, and I don't particularly like it. I don't like the paternalistic tone that he uses, because I don't believe you're my daddy. I have a daddy. I don't need you to be my daddy. You're the Prime Minister. You're supposed to be the political leader. You don't need to talk down to me. I don't like the paternalistic tone. He has a kind of elitist, very elitist vibe that he gets on with. There's some arrogance that feels like it exudes from him. Yeah, there are things that I don't like about his demeanor also. So it's to try and say, because I say I don't like another's demeanor, to point out somebody else's demeanor, thinking that I somehow have a bias in that. I don't like that demeanor. I don't think it's beneficial to our country. I don't think those things work to our positive. And I understand there are people who think that when you go into the office, if you cuss and get on, you really get things done. Yeah, you might get things done the first time, but on a long-term relationship basis, people avoid you. So I think the amicable, diplomatic way is actually better. Not saying you have to beat around the bush and lie or anything, but come on.
It is, and here's the thing. I do follow Philip Alexander, but the thing is the truth. Political savviness has its way, right? You have to be politically savvy. That's just how it goes, right? I don't really see this guy being a prime minister, right? Who have to talk with other leaders of the world. Some people really believe that any person we elect to be prime minister is sort of secluded from the rest of the world population and the rest of the world leaders, and all he have to do is run through and Tobago. No. He has to talk to the rest of the world. He has to get things done with the rest of the world in order to get things done in Trinidad and Tobago. We're not sectioned off from the rest of the world. So of course he needs to be politically savvy. I don't want no prime minister out here that is willing to jump on a public platform that is going to be internationally seen by many people, and he's antagonistic towards somebody and talking about somebody's wife and her private parts. It doesn't move, it doesn't sway nobody.
To what you're saying there, Solia, you're right, but I could guarantee you don't understand the intelligence of these people, because I could guarantee you, if he win any election, all that fire you're seeing there and all that rage and whatever, again, he is playing on the aggression of the people, how people feel it. All of them just strike on an emotion, and when they strike race, who's striking with the gun thing, everybody strike on an emotion. If he was to be a prime minister and he deal with people all over the world, he will not be getting like that no time. This is just for votes. After when he gets into power, that is the end of that.
I understand what you're saying there, Ras, but I kind of disagree. I agree that many politicians inhabit a puppet. It's not really them. They're just inhabiting an ego here that they're using to get the votes. But the problem with that is they don't fully control what they inhabit. So if you're saying he's using this to get votes, if he does get votes by using this, the votes that propel him into governance would be the ones that push this character. It's like the guy from World War II with the special mustache. He wasn't the full proponent alone of the things that were done. It was the people. It's like the shadow of the people all concentrate and distilled into the leader that they put up there. And okay, that mightn't totally be him, but as he goes up there and he speaks as the aggressive, poison-dripping, shadowed edge of the people, that is the character he assumes. And why do you think you're going to be able to change that character that you didn't create? You assume the character that the people wanted. You think you're just going to be able to morph out of that character when necessary? That's like Bastio Pandy spoke about it, that we don't have a lot of racists, we have pseudo-racists. And it's kind of true. I believe a lot of the people that instigate racism in Trinidad and Tobago, many of them aren't really racists. They're using racism to their ends. But when you awaken that monster and you ride the wave that it creates, do you think you could just shut down the wave whenever you decide? I don't think so.
No, I don't think you could shut it down. But what I believe, and I agree. I like your point. What I believe, well, from watching, I remember I was watching Trump campaign. I was in love with Trump campaign. When he went, I was in love. That was the most fun I had watching.
Facts.
He was like, when I get in power, Hillary will be in jail, and all this kind of thing. And he tell Obama all these things. And when you get people to support, there's a certain level of loyalty. It come like how I was watching these people on the beat, well, our family there, and I was there, and they literally had physical matter injuries behind it. If you couldn't, I couldn't spend less than 3 minutes in the area there. I was like, yo, I reversed that car so far out of there because I could have failed. And my cousin and them was telling me, yo, you know how long we begging these people to come and fix this boy, blah, 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 blah. I could guarantee you that area right now, it recently started happening. Last week I was there and it happened a little lower down now. So it's happening again, right? I could guarantee you on the 14th, that whole area, although no one has seen about it, is going to vote otherwise than way they have tribally vote all the time. Because at the end of the day, once you rile up people and they get loyalty just brings something in your way. You just make excuses. Like the politician doesn't even need to make an excuse for you.
True.
You just make the excuse for them. So that I agree with you. But from what I have seen people make the excuse for the politician. You understand that kind of way? But I agree with you still. Yeah.
What you saying there? That is 100%. You know where I've said that too. I recognize as I grew older, like as a younger person, you used to watch players out there, them men, those womanizers out there, and you watch that and you wonder like, how these men so skillful, boy? And then you recognize after a while, it's really the women that helping them. The women make the excuses for them. The women tell them what to do, because some of the victims of these men, they're so much in love. They're the perpetrators and the victims all at the same time to some extent. And it's kind of similar in politics, isn't it? The loyalty that is crafted is such that people make the excuses on behalf of the politicians. I agree. But the thing is, those new politicians don't yet have that loyalty. They're trying to build a brand. And what brand would you build?
We were saying that before. They're building the brand, so they're trying to see what power they get out there. They're trying to see where it reaches now. But like that, you have to try, and hopefully somebody keeps trying, and somebody find the right, the right angle, and we could finally get a third party.
You know, like even with my criticisms of the goodly gentleman, I think what he is doing in terms of the third party. And not third, but other party of the many others that are being created now. What he's doing, I think, is a positive thing in the long run for Trinidad and Tobago. Having another group that is independently trying to get their voices heard on matters that they consider important, I think that's good. I think that's good, and I hope that he could remain separate from the others. And maybe the extremely prickly nature that he has and his disagreeable nature might actually be a benefit in keeping him from being absorbed into someone of the other parties and losing the other option totally. So that might be a benefit in the long run. Because to create another party and carry it wholesale into the second party kind of makes no sense to me. Like, what's the point of what we're doing here? What's the reason for that? I don't understand that to me. After last elections, there was a racist outpouring from UNC support base. How can they convince me? Well, there are multiple parts to that. One, you would notice the racism on one side because you are a particular race. That doesn't mean that there wasn't racism flowing multiple directions. That's one. Two, racism from the supporters isn't necessarily symptomatic of the party itself. It's two. The other part to that is I think we need to understand racism in Trinidad and Tobago in an honest historical perspective, to not attempt to weigh racism like Indians more racist than the Afros in Trinidad and Tobago, because if you understand a historical concept of that, you would understand that, well, if you're considering racism to be in group link, cultural homogeneity, isn't the fact of the matter that many Africans talk about constantly, that Africans lost their culture and their traditions, etc., during slavery, while the indentured laborers were allowed to keep theirs, and literally the only thing that held them together during some really traumatic times for their people was that culture and close in-group tie. So to say that they are a more insular, close-knit group isn't saying much. Like we need some more layers of comparison and critique when we're looking at some of these things. And I think it might be necessary in Trinidad and Tobago, because I regularly speak about this. To me, you want to change the political landscape in Trinidad and Tobago, one of the most important things is to break up the stronghold that the UNC has. And the stronghold the UNC has is a lot to do with the fact, with that same historical colonial fact of the indentured laborers, and they being able to only hold on to family and tradition as their one saving grace. So when they enter politics, they basically do the same thing. So the UNC has the strongest, most stable base in the country. Although the PNM wins more elections, the PNM's base is much more fickle. They don't win their base as stably as the UNC does. So maybe some of these discussions in understanding the nuance of what we consider racism and race relations and inter-race and intra-race relations may actually help in the political landscape too. But I don't think it's as simple as, well, this party is racist and this party is not racist. Because as I speak about this many times, the UNC, I do think the UNC has more clear racial division. But I don't think the PNM is on the other side of the racial divide as the UNC. I don't think the UNC is the Indian party and the PNM is the Afro party. I don't think that's true. The PNM party is, to me, more of a class divide party. That's my view of it. If you look at the hierarchy of the PNM, it's not really based on race. There's something else that determines that. So you have these two parties kind of battling out on two different planes, and Trinis in the middle trying to fight it out on that. So I think you need a better, clearer discussion on when we're looking at that. So maybe there was an outpouring of racial hate during that time when the UNC lost. But when the PNM lost in 2010, I recall distinctly hearing somebody speak about how all of these low-class people are coming into the areas of power. Okay, you know, there are discussions in different directions. I live in the Library and Point Fortin area 2 of PNM stronghold. Yes, there are strongholds for the PNM, but they don't always go PNM. There are only 2 seats that the PNM has never lost. Only 2.
Is that true?
No, they lost. It was 3, and they lost one, I think, in the last Tobago election. They lost that one. So it's only the one in Tobago and the one in Trinidad. No. You're right. 3. It's 2 in Trinidad. The one in Sando, one of the Sandos, and one of the Laventils. But yeah, I'm not saying that they don't have strongholds. I'm saying that their strongholds aren't as strong. It's more possible to create for another party to pull away the PNM base than it is for another party to pull away the UNC base. That's just historical fact. And I think that's because of the same thing we were just talking about, the racial and historical realities that we face in Trinidad and Tobago. And to try and make it seem like one group of people have a lesser moral character for just acting along with their historical realities, that's not going to create a change. If you want something to change, that's not how it happens. I think if you want to see that change, you have to understand why the reality is the way it is, and probably work with the why of the reality and see if you could get, a little shifting from there. I hope you understand what I mean. If there are no further comments or questions, are we diving out?
I would just make a comment about the Philip Alexander thing.
Yeah.
What Rasta was talking about. And I'm not too sure if you're familiar how long or how old the PEP party is. That parties are not very, but it is fairly old. I think they would have faced, I want to believe this would be the second election they're facing.
Yeah.
Or third.
More than 2. It's more than 2. It's more than 2. The party was formed. He retired. He came back. So it's been here a while.
Yeah, it's our own party, but the thing is, he's a better, as in better to drink, better to consume person. I don't think even if he looking for that shock factor, that like I am this abrasive, I am the get it done kind of man. Like I don't deal with it, but then you can't say that you're not like the others when you sat so comfortably in the others' seats. You understand? If somebody from the outside
you are
comes
very right,
in, if somebody from the outside comes in and say, "Look, I am not like the others," which is what Trump did. He was never a politician. So when he come and he say, "Look, I am not like the others," people could take notice of that. But you can't tell me. You can't dissect Stuart Long leaving PNM and making his own party and telling me that he not like the others.
Yeah. No, you're right, But what I'm saying is that it's not your kettle of tea. It might be none of us here in this panel here kettle of tea. But what I have seen that his party has grown. He does have, from where he was when he now started to now, he does have a little more support than he had prior. He does have more support. That's all I meant. So that's all I meant. He does have a little more.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing, as I said.
I'm not denying his growth, but what I'm saying is his growth is not is negligible. Because for a party that faced something like 3 elections and yet you can never get back a deposit, it shows that people just not interested in your type of
God, that is a low blow.
No, but it is true. You don't get back a deposit. So therefore,
you see,
your better brand.
I think, as I said, it's a good thing that he's doing what he's doing, but, and that's why I said it's my opinion. This is my opinion, that the political landscape of Trinidad and Tobago, I am not sure who his target audience is going to be and how he's going to grow that target audience. So like the COP, the reason I think the COP had the best option is because the COP had the ability to actually remove the UNC base. Some of the young people from the UNC base were seeing this as a transition party into the future, where we can vote here based on issues and we don't have to feel like we're betraying our people. The COP was giving that option. So you saw where the COP could get it. And then the COP had a hint to the intelligentsia. So the university graduates, the people fresh out of university, you have your bachelors. You had that feel with the COP, okay, that's their target audience. You could see how they could build that target audience. I am not sure exactly who, like for me, what it seems like the target audience of that party right now seems like the men that call in 102 and cuss up the government. And I mean, there might be a couple hundred of them in the country and maybe some of their wives, but I don't think there are enough men who like to cuss the politicians enough. And I'm not saying there are not some of those. I listen to political shows. There are some men who they get off on insulting the government and the politicians like Rowley personally kicked the dog. And okay, there are some of those that, and they love it when someone speaks so crassly to a politician. Ooh, that tickles their fancies. But how many of them are there? And is that enough of a target audience to make a viable political force in the country? I personally, I don't think so.
Being a political force. I don't believe he'll ever end up being a big political force. What I'm hoping from him is that it gives, we have some little, let's say a sleeping giant somewhere in the watching and seeing whatever, again, what tools they could make watching the UNC, the PNM, everything, and they would use all of it and compile the information and use it to successfully give us something that is of more merit that would help us when it comes to voting. That would help us say, okay, could this
as I keep saying, as I keep saying, I think it's a benefit. One of the reasons I think it's a benefit too is because if he has this party machine running here for year in, year out, if today, tomorrow, the focal point decides that, you know what, I'm going to step back, then at least there's already a framework in place that maybe another leader who may be able to get a better target audience, who may be able to better craft a message for Trinidad and Tobago, maybe he could hand over that machine to someone like that. So the PP wouldn't be a new fly-by-night party. It would be a party that already has 10 years in the wings, and now they have leadership that is more palatable to the wider country. So that I think would be a better thing also. So that's why I say, again, I think it's a benefit in the general context for Trinidad and Tobago. Jazz says, good night, what's your take on stand your ground and giving out firearms to decrease killings in TNT? Giving out firearms sounds like a horrible idea. I don't mind stand your ground. We've spoken at length about some of that, but giving out firearms, no, this isn't food. All right. Now, on that note, we're heading to the end, and anyone who's looking to catch in pieces they miss, all of this is usually recorded on my YouTube channel, Nathan Spring, over there on YouTube. So you can head over there and subscribe, catch anything you miss on repeat. You can listen to the other lives that you may have missed. There are other videos over there. Jump into my YouTube and subscribe. Jazz says, what about on a religious perspective, thou shalt not kill?
Don't touch that 40 feet pole.
No. I could touch that, you know, but you just bear in mind, thou shalt not kill was given as a commandment to the people of Israel. The same people who are also instructed to wipe certain peoples clean off the map. So there's obviously some context involved. That's how I'd phrase that. All right. Any further comments or questions, or we diving out there?
Dive out. I have a bold prediction for you before you go though.
What's that?
After the general election, we'll have no more Philip Alexander. After PNM win the next general election, they'll have no more Philip Alexander.
But
so let's worry.
But not the last election, Philip Alexander. See, he was retiring from the party.
Yeah, you said that.
Yes, he did say that.
Okay, so he will retire and come again.
Yes, because he win. Nobody is expecting PNM have a trump card for the next general election. That when it comes the next general election, when they win, he will retire. He would really retire after that.
Man said trump card, and the better
a trump card, yeah. They have a trump card for the general election.
Do criminals read the Bible? I would suppose some of them might, Dinesh.
Yes, they do.
Some of them would.
Yes, they do.
Listen.
Yes, they do.
They just read the Bible before they kill people. They just go and pray and thing, eh?
Yep.
Yes, there are strange people out there.
Even after they do what they do. Take it from somebody who come from a different walk of life, who change now, I could tell you they do.
Yeah. They regularly share that many of the most violent criminal gangs in the world, some of those cartels, are the most religious people you'd ever meet. Very religious. Almost all of their tattoos are some kind of religious symbol or something. Thou shalt not steal, fight fire with fire. All right, people. All them God and Monk they using. All right. God and Monk, what you talking about there, boy? If there are no further comments or questions, people will call it a night there. This has been the Mindful Live. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you all over there on Instagram there too. I appreciate you all for tuning in. This has been the Mindful Live. I am Nathan Spring. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. I will see you guys again for the next Mindful Live show, which is going to be tomorrow evening around that 9:30 p.m. time. This has been brought to you by Mindful Education. Head over and follow us, Mindful with 2 L's Education, over on Instagram. We offer learning pods from all learning stages, from preschool go straight up to CXC, homeschool style education, small groups if you are interested in that. Also private tutoring for pretty much all CXC and CAPE subjects if you need that one-on-one undivided attention to catch something in one of those subjects. Head over there and you can follow us and get into contact. Love and blessings to you too, Israel. All right, people, that's all I have for now. I didn't see Mini Mindful. Mini Mindful actually sleeping tonight. Good things. She wasn't sleeping at the beginning, but she's sleeping now. Good things, good things, good things. All right, people. Later, as I was nice, and don't forget to stand your ground. Peace, people. I'm out. Yeah, she was up. Y'all weren't hearing her in the earlies, Nisi. She was coughing and thing in the earlies right behind my mic there watching.